Great, cool. I know I've recognized a couple of you guys from the Bruce Hall presentation I did. Okay, great. Glad to see you guys come out. But pretty much we do three main things on campus. We do workshops, coaching, and we do a small emergency loan program. So we're here for you. We're a free service. You guys have any questions, you can call. You can come in and see us. We're in Joseph Hall, Suite 34313. Okay, great. So what's the first step into finding your first apartment? We're going to have to know our situation. So pretty much for most people, our situation is pretty reliant on how much we can afford when it comes to getting an apartment. So it's going to kind of dictate what you're able to get and balance out what you want and what you need. So we all know our needs, and that's pretty much the basics: food, shelter, and transportation, so you can get to your classes, right? So I know I definitely like to have a couple of amenities in my life. I like to go out, get my nails done, have a little fun here and there. But when it comes to living in an apartment, something that you're going to want as amenities is definitely gyms, pools, get your workout on, have a little fun in the sun. When it's a little less colder, definitely having a washer and dryer in your unit is definitely a luxury for some people. A couple of the apartments don't actually offer that. And so there's laundry mats and things like that. So definitely having one in your apartment is an amenity. Having your apartment furnished in general is a huge deal. How many of you guys live far away? You, 1, 2, we'll see, okay. I don't know about you guys, but I have a couple friends that actually live 10 hours plus away. And lugging their stuff up here, like their bed, their furniture, chairs, tables, things like that, is a hassle. And it's definitely difficult. I mean, even for the people that live maybe an hour or 45 minutes away, it's definitely a hassle that we don't want to deal with. If you're changing apartments every semester or every year, it's definitely a continual hassle, and you don't always want to, have to pay movers or have to have people come in and, package all your things. So it's definitely an amenity to have it furnished also. So covered parking, how many of you guys drive? Oh, that's quite a few of you. So you guys know that Texas weather can be a little crazy. It hails, it rains, all sorts of things. So covered parking is definitely something that you want. But I mean, it's not necessarily a necessity. So knowing your situation, if you have transportation needs, if you're, say, for food or anything like that, and you are like a low glucose person and you don't like eating meat or vegetarian or anything like that, knowing your situation and knowing how much it's going to roughly cost you is something important to begin your search for an apartment. So step 2, it's going to be planning a budget around buying your first apartment. So it's going to be pretty much income minus expenses, which equals living within your means. So how many of you guys can tell me what living within your means means to you? Great, that's a great one actually. So pretty much, how many of you guys like to go out and have a little fun? I know I do, definitely. So pretty much living within your means is being responsible with your money, like you said, while you still get to have some fun and kind of planning for everything along the way. So when you buy your first apartment, you're going to have to pay rent, you're going to have to pay for food, you're going to have to pay for utilities like gas, electric, cable, internet, you name it, and it's a lot more expensive. So definitely knowing your expenses and identifying how much you're going to be spending is important. And also knowing your income. If you have an unstable income or you're not quite sure how much you're going to get back from your financial aid every year, it's important to always measure below. So if you roughly get $450 one semester and you got like $410 another, it's always important to take the lower number, so just round it off to like 400 and then kind of plan from there. We have 3 main steps when it comes to making a budget, and it's called planning, tracking, and reviewing. So I know a couple of you have heard me say this already from the past presentation, but for those of you that don't know, planning is really simple. Pretty much, like I said, you identify your expenses and your income, and you just kind of plan it out and allocate your money responsibly, and make sure you have enough money for all your designated, categories. So rent, food, gas, transportation, fund money, savings, and things like that. Tracking is making sure you stay within those lines and seeing how well you do throughout the month and kind of keeping a record or a tally, saving your receipts up, knowing how you did. And finally, reviewing is kind of adding it all together and seeing what you can adjust and what you can make an achievement, or what you achieved and what you kind of messed up on. So if someone kind of went overboard and, for Valentine's Day or something, and they need to kind of offset that expense, that's where they make their adjustments in their plan and their budget. So here's an example, and we're going to go ahead and use Jamie here, and she roughly gets $850 a month. Maybe her parents give her a little money, but either way, you can just have a seat. Either way, she roughly gets $850. So pretty much she's going to go ahead and look for apartments around her area. And if you guys know of any apartments, there's different kind of rooms, rates, and different utility bills and caps. So those are all things that we're going to talk about, but just for the sake of this example, go with me. So for 3 roommates plus herself, in an unfurnished apartment, she'd pay roughly $530. So does that seem like an okay estimate? Okay, great. So for utility bills, it'll be like a $30 cap, just, her electric, her gas, her water, things like that. Cable, $20, gas, $15, and she'll save roughly $25 a month. So that seems fair, but for food, she'll only spend $150. So how many of you guys like to go out and eat? I do. I definitely do. Chipotle is my life. I'm there all the time. But I know I can actually spend a lot more than $150 on food alone. I'll try to be good and save up and be like, I'm just going to eat, with my meal plan, and it doesn't happen. So it's important to be realistic with yourself. So Jamie, she might not spend exactly $150, but for the sake of this example, her total is going to be $765. Now her income is $850, so that means that she has a little leeway. So for you guys, what would you guys do with that extra couple $100 bucks? Roughly. Treat yourself?
Or put in savings.
Okay, that's 2 great answers. Anybody else? What would y'all do?
Gas money.
Gas money, definitely great. Because, I like to go places, like to travel. Great, but we'll go ahead and put that under, treating yourself and going out. So that surplus is definitely something that you can put towards the other categories in your budget. So your rent is pretty much going to stay the same every month. It's not going to fluctuate. Your utility bills is something that might fluctuate just a bit. So if it's really hot outside, like Texas can be, you're going to be cranking that AC up, and you'll definitely see a change in your bill. And if it goes over that cap of $30, then you'll just pay the difference. So how many of you guys know what a cap is when I say a cap? You guys know? Nothing? Okay.
Minimum?
Pretty much. It's like a maximum. It's something included within your rent. So pretty much within that $530, we'll say that that's something that you already pay. That's something that's included with your rent. So you have $30 worth of electricity, water, sewage, and all that good stuff. So if you go over that amount, if you're cranking your stereo on, you leave your light on when you go to sleep, you're definitely going to see a change in that. And that's where you'll exceed the cap, and you usually just pay the difference. Now, for cable and such, like Super Bowl week, I'm always having my TV on, gotta catch the new TV shows and all that. But seeing as she has all that extra money, there might be different life events that happen that can make that money go into those different categories. So it's important to have a little leeway. I would say the extra, roughly $100 is a bit too much, and she should allocate it to savings, maybe bumping it up to $50 a month, or spending a little bit more towards gas and being realistic. So with food, she could say, oh, I'll give myself $200 instead of $150, just trying to make it realistic. Now, with these other 2 apartments that she has here, which is 3 roommates again, and then the second one is no roommates. So how many of you guys like your privacy? Yeah, the privacy is a huge deal, especially for college students. We all like to, find our quiet place, our happy place, but it can definitely be more expensive. So for a single room, roughly anywhere on campus, you can spend from $700 to $1,000 something plus on a single bedroom apartment with a kitchen and a living room and all the good stuff. But seeing as her income is $850, that's already putting her at a disadvantage, and she's already going to be going over. So you have to be realistic with yourself. And I know it's sometimes hard, you fall in love with this great apartment, but you have to stick within your budget. So step 3, it's narrowing it down. So pretty much we have these really great resources for you guys, and you can go to Off-Campus Housing UNT, and if you guys want the links later, we can send those to you, or you can just type it into the UNT search and it'll pop right up. And it's also right here on these pamphlets here, and it's like roommate finder, and it's on the back of these, so if you want to pick one up at the end. But pretty much I'm going to pull this up and just show you how it works, because it's really easy and it's very helpful for all of you guys to use. So pretty much you go to housing or home, and then roughly we're going to use Jamie's example and say she makes $850, and we're just going to go ahead and type it in, hit go, and see what pops up. So as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff that she can actually afford. So $450 per month, $509, $545. So these are all reasonable rates that are here at UNT and in the surrounding apartments. So as you can see, you can just kind of type in your information. If you want a single bedroom or one with several roommates, you can go ahead and plug that in. All you have to do is filter or go back and start over and maybe adjust the money and just hit go when you're ready. And it'll pop up and filter all these results for you. Now, another great thing is the university parent website. So pretty much, I'll just pull it up for you really quick. But it just has all the phone numbers. It has all the actual sites of each apartment. Yeah, well, it has all the sites of the apartment. So once you actually figure out what apartments are within your budget, you can actually click on them and go to their website, see pictures, all sorts of fun stuff like that. So we have like the Republic at Denton. Is anyone thinking of staying there? No? Okay. It is a little pricey, but there's a whole bunch. University Courtyards, there's a whole bunch. And you can just actually find more information about them at this website. And then that's just the other part of it. Okay. So once you narrow it down, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I had a recommendation for everyone to check apartmentratings.com.
Oh, yeah.
Some places you might not know what you're getting into, and it might seem great when you're doing a tour, which I haven't done any tours yet, but I was researching a lot of apartments today. Like someone had a gun pushed in their face. Another, the electricity cap was above. It was above what they were told outright what the cap was. I think the cap was 30, 20, 30, and it ended up being 60, I guess.
See, yeah.
So I highly recommend researching the apartments before.
Yeah, before you go into them, definitely. That's a great idea. When we narrow it down, you definitely want to keep all kinds of information within your mind and kind of grasp it. It's important to understand that what you pay for is what you get.
Yeah, and
definitely.
Yeah.
So if you kind of get a lower end, kind of really cheap apartment that doesn't have any security, things like that may be, possible for happening.
Realistic expectations.
Yeah, you just gotta have realistic expectations. Thank you for bringing that up. Definitely. So, like I said, this is just another example really quick that brings up the different kinds of bedrooms and bathrooms. And this is just to show you guys how much you can fluctuate. So privacy, we've all established that it's a big deal for us. But sometimes sharing a bathroom kind of makes a difference between $100 and $200 that you get to have a little extra in your pocket every month. Roommates, how many of you guys already have designated roommates that you know who you want to live with and all sorts of things? That's great. That's a couple of you. So I'm assuming a couple of you, you're like, I still don't know. Maybe I have one good friend. That's it. It's definitely a situation that a lot of students find themselves in. So it's important when you actually go and after you narrow it down, you go and look at the apartments that you've already picked out. So you can kind of make a list from what's in your budget and what you can afford and what's realistic for you. Make sure that you have the correct amount of amenities. If it's gated, if it has parking passes, if it has, porches or patios, or if it has in-unit washers and dryers. So if for those who don't have roommates already, a great resource, which is also on these pamphlets, is a roommate finder. And that's completely available to you guys. I know a lot of the apartments that are surrounding UNT campus actually have their own roommate finder as well. They'll put in your application and they'll kind of have you fill out a survey just to see the type of personality that you have, and they'll set up a meet and greet, and usually after that you can decide whether or not you want to be a roommate with them. So there are options for you guys. So, for those of you who know who you want to live with, just, grab your friends and kind of jump in a car and get ready and go visit all the places that you've kind of picked out online, Go ahead. It's like a shopping adventure. You're gonna take your checklist, and for those of you who picked up the packets, it's on the second page. But pretty much you can take this checklist, and pretty much all it says is, apartment name, ways that you can actually find, pretty much it's what you can find and all the great resources that they may have. It's kind of a checklist. Like if you're going through the tour and you see that they have a clubhouse where you can kind of hang out, if they have a pool, and just check it out as you go, and it'll kind of help you when you're making your decision after you see all the apartments that you set out to see. So, step 5. Well, when you go out and see these apartments, you're going to have questions, and you want to ask all the hard-hitting questions. You want to know everything about the place where you're going to live, potentially. So it's important to ask questions. Sometimes it can be a little awkward, but that's what they're there for. It's their job to answer these questions. So, does the apartment come furnished? I'd hate for you guys to actually go ahead and sign that lease, and then 2 weeks later you find out, hey, I have no furniture. Like, that's an extra expense out of your pocket. So definitely ask that extremely important question. So is there a move-in, move-out fee, sort of a deposit situation? How many of you guys can take a rough guess and say how much a deposit usually costs? Great guess. Roughly $200 to $300. Now, around the housing fair, I know some of them actually waive their housing or their deposit fees or their application fees. Now, those are 2 different fees, and usually the application fee is just to kind of put it in, and they see, if you're a UNT student, and they make sure like all the right criteria is there. Most students get approved, and the application fee can range from $15 to $50. So it's a pricey sort of thing. So you want to make sure that you're not applying left and right to the apartments. That's the important reason that we had you narrow it down, so you know exactly where you want to live, so you're valuing your money and making the right decisions for you. So another question we want to ask is, how long is the lease? A lot of the apartments around here have 9-month leases to 12-month leases to even 6 months. So for the 12 months, I know I like to go home in the summer, so my apartment would be empty for those extra 3 months, and I don't know if I'd want to pay for it. So that's definitely something you want to keep in consideration and check out. If you just do the 9 months, you have to know as soon as the semester ends, you're going to have to be out, and that may be a struggle for you because that's finals time, It's all things to consider. What is the penalty for breaking a lease? So for those people that decide maybe halfway through the summer, I don't want my apartment anymore, that's it, I'm done, I don't want it, I'm graduating, peace out. You might want to decide to break your lease, but there are penalties and fees for that, so it may cost you an extra $200 or an extra $300. It just depends on the apartments themselves. Can you sublease your apartment? So an alternative to breaking your lease is actually subletting it. So how many of you know what subleasing is, or subletting? Okay, great. Can you tell me?
It's kind of where you have 3 months left on your lease, and you kind of pass the buck to someone else, and they'll start paying for it.
Yeah, that's great definition. So pretty much, you're done living there, and you kind of want to get out, but you don't want to break your lease and pay that extra $200. So you just find a friend, or maybe go on roommatefinder.com, or put up signs. I know some of you have seen them around campus where they're like, 4-bedroom apartment, come move in, check it out. So this is an option for you guys, and it can sometimes be a really great steal, but it's kind of like a first come, first serve, you got to get lucky when you find them sort of thing. So another question is, what appliances come included, normal stuff, kitchen, you want to have a fridge and a microwave and a stove, the essentials. Parking passes and spots, you don't want to get towed away, so it's important to, make sure you have a place to park your car. Security, if it's gated, if there's an on-call officer or anything like that. And can you have guests? I know some apartments can be very strict on the guest policy, if you're being too loud or if there's anything like that, or where cops need to be called. You don't want to put yourself in a situation, so just know the limits. Step 6 is put the pen down. I know sometimes when you're out there on those tours it can be so tempting. Like, it's right there, like, I can taste it, you know? Like, I'm so ready to move in. I love the apartment. The people are nice, you know, it's great. But you still have, like, maybe 1 or 2 apartments to see. I mean, it's important to put the pen down. Do not sign. You have to explore all your options. Go see everything. You know, make sure you stick to your budget also. It's important to kind of keep in consideration who you want to live with also. So if you have a friend that's, you know, maybe has a little extra money and they're just like falling in love with this really expensive apartment, you gotta be realistic and be like, you know, I love you, but I'm gonna stick to my budget. You gotta hold your guns and make sure that you stick to it. And you know, you have to make the best decision for you. And staying on campus is still an option for you guys, you know. It's important to keep that in mind. A lot of people think that just because you're an upperclassman, you know, it's frowned upon, or, you know, X, Y, and Z. It's still an option for you, but it is a first come, first serve kind of thing because they make a lot of room for freshmen. So you've got to apply early and, you know, just know where you stand. Step 7, application process. So age issue, pretty much I know a lot of you guys are freshmen, second semester freshmen, right? Okay. Or upperclassmen, it doesn't matter. Freshmen in general, if you're finding your first apartment, sometimes your age can be an issue. If you don't have any credit, they may be a little hesitant to actually, you know, lease to you. So that's where a cosigner or a guarantor comes in. Pretty much that's just somebody that signs the lease with you that says, you know, I got your back. Like if something happens and you're not able to pay your rent, they step up and they kind of fill your shoes and make sure that your rent gets paid. Or well, that the apartment gets their money, pretty much. So what's due at signing? You want to know, you know, how fast you have to come up with that deposit. You know, is there any leeway? Is there any extra hidden fees that might pop up that, you know, out of nowhere, you know, you don't want to be blindsided. When can you move in? So I know as soon as I see a tour or anything like that, like I'm ready, let's go, let's move in right now, next day. But most of them aren't ready for you to move until July or early August. So that's something to keep in mind, even though that you have to sign your leases early, and that's when you find your best deals, you can't move in right away. You can ask for a price guarantee, and so usually if you're kind of iffy about an apartment, maybe you're stuck in between your favorite 2, and you kind of just want to go and check out the last one just to make sure you're making the right decision, but you hear that they're going to raise their prices in the next day, you can ask for a rate and guarantee from the apartment, and usually they're really cool about this because they want you to sign with them, so they'll, you know, they'll be lenient and they'll go ahead and give you that price guarantee that even if they up the prices tomorrow, they'll still, you know, make sure that you pay the price that they offered to you originally. And then types of leases, we've already gone over that a little bit, you know, just the length and, you know, you want to make sure that you sign either an independent lease instead of like a co-op lease. So an independent lease is pretty much that you're guaranteeing that you're paying your part of the rent. Because, you know, you only pay like $600 or $400 or maybe $500, but it all adds up to this whole grand bunch of money, which is like $1,200 to $1,300. If you don't sign an independent lease, then that means that you might have to come up with that extra money because your roommate skipped and she doesn't want to be and she drops out, and, you know, you want to make sure that you're just responsible for your amount. And then the last step is move-in time. So you want to make sure that you're financially stable to move in. So there's still a little extra money. You know, it's expensive to move, especially if you live far away. You want to make sure that you have everything packed, you have everything that you need. On the last page of those packets, it's just kind of like a make sure, must-have sort of thing, that you have everything you need. Cooking, cleaning, all the essentials for an apartment. Because with the dorm, it's kind of simple. You just get your mini fridge and you're ready to go. But with an apartment, there's a lot more things that you need included. And don't waste your money on DIYs. That's really important, or on decorations, sorry. So for expensive decorations, I know if I had my apartment right now, it'd be decorated to the nines, you know, super fancy stuff, and people would be like, that's the best apartment I've ever seen. But it's important to keep within your budget, and sometimes DIYs are the best way to go. So, you know, maybe you can find this really expensive looking portrait that you want to put up, but really you painted it and it only cost you $20 and the real one's like $300, so, you know, score, keep that in mind. And just kind of have fun with the whole process. It should be fun, you should be excited about moving into your first apartment. And like I said, guys, my name is Megan, If you have any questions, I'll be here afterwards. We're with the Student Money Management Center, and we are in Chestnut Hall, Suite 313. This is our website, our number, our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram. So go like us, go give us a thumbs up, have some fun, comment, and let us know if you liked it.